If you've ever seen The Boys, then you know just how dark and twisted the plot can get at times. One of the most popular trademarks in The Boys is the Seven. The Seven consist of some of the most powerful and influential soups in The Boys. They're beloved by many people and are practically the Justice League of The Boys verse. In reality though, the Seven is full of corrupt soups who selfishly abuse their powers, hurting more people than they save. So much for being superheroes. Each member of the Seven has a superpower that makes them extremely dangerous. Because of this, the Seven is above the law, and there are people who would do anything to have even the slightest chance of getting rid of them. So if someone hired the Penguins of Madagascar to stop the Seven, would they actually be able to stop them? Despite being 4 tiny penguins, the Penguins of Madagascar are master criminals. They have committed tons of crimes and gotten away with heists that are no joke. The Penguins are so capable that they raided the Fort Knox Depository, which is one of the most secure facilities in the United States. The Penguins are also extremely resourceful, as they were able to survive falling out of a plane and even stop the genius evil scientist Dave. For this video, we will be using the original 7 from season 1 of The Boys. Under the right circumstances, the Penguins could pose a huge threat to the 7. In order to make this hypothetical a little more fair for the Penguins, they will have prep time to prepare for each hero as well as access to any technology used in the Penguins of Madagascar movie. The first soup we will start off with is Translucent. The main problem with defeating Translucent is that his skin is made out of diamond, but there are some ways to overcome this that the Penguins would easily have access to. Just like in The Boys, the Penguins could use electricity to incapacitate Translucent and figure out how to get rid of him while he's asleep. This wouldn't be too hard for the Penguins as they are seen to be very resourceful and creative. Furthermore, Rico has explosives stored in his body at all times, so it's very likely that the Penguins would figure out that they could simply blow up Translucent from the inside. The way I see this playing out is that the Penguins would let Translucent catch them spying on purpose so that he would start following them. The Penguins would then lead Translucent into an electrical trap in order to knock him out and then destroy him with explosives from the inside. The next soup we'll look at is Starlight. Starlight poses a little more of a threat to the Penguins considering her arsenal. Starlight is strong enough to lift up a car, she is capable of flying, and she can shoot laser beams out of her arms. However, there is a way for the Penguins to limit her abilities. Starlight is only able to use her light powers when there is a source of electricity nearby. So if the Penguins somehow get her to a secluded location, then she wouldn't be able to use her powers. In order to get Starlight to a secluded location, the Penguins could kidnap Huey and use him as leverage to get Starlight into an area with no electricity. The Penguins could also use this plan to deal with her super strength by using Huey to get Starlight to go into a room that is reinforced with durable minerals. This would completely neutralize Starlight, and from there eliminating her is easy as pie. The Penguins might be able to take out the Deep with even less effort. The Deep cares very deeply about sea life, and penguins are considered to be sea life. In fact, some people even call them the birds of the ocean. Given this fact, it's very possible that due to the Deep's love for ocean creatures, he would be hesitant to attack the Penguins. He might not even be able to bring himself to kill them. In the show, the Deep has watched sea life die and even eaten an octopus, but this was because he was either forced to or he had no way of preventing their deaths. The Deep would be very unlikely to want to hurt the Penguins. This means that their confrontation could go either one of 2 ways. The Deep's insecurities get the best of him, and he lets the Penguins have their way with him, or because of the Deep's powers, the Penguins decide to let the Deep live, but I think the first option is more likely to happen. Despite Black Noir's background as an assassin, he doesn't actually pose much of a threat to the Penguins. From the show, we know that Black Noir has a severe allergy to tree nuts. When May fed Noir an almond joy, he had an allergic reaction and was left unable to move for quite a bit of time. This means the Penguins could take advantage of this to deal with Black Noir. The only problem with this solution though is that the Penguins would have to somehow get Noir to eat an almond joy. It sounds difficult, but I think Kowalski could easily come up with a way to get the job done. For example, Kowalski could crunch up a bunch of tree nuts and infuse them with a kind of dart capable of piercing a soup like Noir. One of the other Penguins could then distract Noir while Kowalski shoots Noir with the dart, hindering him from moving, and then they would easily deal with him. The next 3 left in the 7 have the potential to stop the Penguins if things go wrong. Queen Maeve is one of the stronger members of the 7 and in the show. She was capable of holding her own against Homelander for a little while, and she even left him bleeding a little bit. Maeve doesn't have a particular weakness, making it much harder for the Penguins to find a way to deal with her. The only option the Penguins would have is to knock Maeve out with some form of gas. In the Penguins of Madagascar movie, the Penguins use a similar strategy when infiltrating the US gold depository. This means the Penguins have experience using gases in their plans. It will be difficult for the Penguins to get Maeve into a situation where they can safely gas her, but I think they could come up with a plan to do it. The Penguins could theoretically use Eleanor as a hostage, similar to the way the Penguins would use Huey as leverage against Starlight. After all that is said and done, the Penguins could easily take out Maeve with no effort. The next biggest threat the Penguins would face is A-Train. A-Train is a speedster capable of moving at inhuman speeds. He is able to run around an Olympic track within a few milliseconds. At some point during Season 1, A-Train was considered to be the fastest human on Earth. However, the reason he is able to run faster than any other speedster in the show is because he abuses Compound V. This comes at a downside though, because later in Season 1, A-Train starts to have heart problems whenever he runs. These heart problems get to the point where A-Train has a minor heart attack, forcing him to stop running entirely. The heart problems begin later on in Season 1 though, so the difficulty the Penguins will face depends on what point in time they confront A-Train. If they go against early Season 1 A-Train, then things will be much harder for the Penguins. All the Penguins have to do is either force A-Train to run or make his heart speed up drastically. Speeding up his heart will probably be easier than making A-Train run. One way the Penguins could do this is by lacing a food or drink and giving it to A-Train. If they go against early Season 1 A-Train, then things will get much harder for them. It would be near impossible for them to trap A-Train because of his insane speed. 1 second he could be right in front of them, and the next he's in a whole other city. The only way I see the Penguins beating this version of A-Train is if they somehow find a way to break his legs, but I don't really see that happening. So the Penguins beating A-Train really just depends on if they fight him after his heart problems start or before. Out of all the members of the 7, Homelander will be by far the hardest. Homelander is the strongest soup in the boys. His physical strength is stronger than any other soup in the show. He can also see through any object unless it's made out of zinc, so he'd be able to see through any traps made by the Penguins. Homelander can also shoot concentrated laser beams out of his eyes that are capable of splitting planes in half. On top of all of this, Homelander can fly at insane speeds, so if he felt even the slightest threat by the Penguins, then he would just fly away. Homelander also has an insane durability, so most weapons will have no effect on him. If we take all these factors into account, then it seems like the Penguins are at a severe disadvantage. But they actually have one trump card up their sleeve that they could use. In the Penguins of Madagascar movie, there is a machine known as the mutant laser, which with the use of the Medusa serum can biologically reform animals into uglier versions of themselves. This by itself wouldn't stop Homelander, since it would just make him look uglier, but in the movie when Private is used as ammo instead of the Medusa serum, it reverses the effects of the beam. This causes the Medusa laser to convert things into pure versions of what they once were. It's possible that if Homelander were to get shot by this beam, then it would remove all the Compound V circulating through his blood. You might think that Homelander would just fly away from the machine, but Homelander is known to be very cocky. It's likely that if he doesn't know what the beam does, then he would just assume that he could tank it. Because of this, Homelander would stand in the beam in order to show off, which would ultimately lead to him losing his powers. This would leave him powerless against the Penguins, and they could easily dispose of him. The Penguins of Madagascar are not a force to be reckoned with, because under the right circumstances, they have the potential to eliminate every member of the 7. That's all for this video. If you have any comments or suggestions for video ideas, please let me know in the comments and stay tuned in for more banger videos.